Welcome to Where Are We Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. Now today I'm going to finish up the third and final segment of the Dr. Small home. I think it would be appropriate for me to give a layout of the property when the family lived here. Today we're on the Kankakee County Museum campus, but I'm going to kind of bring you back in time a little bit to give you an idea of what the property looked like. Okay, so picture this. The driveway was here, and it was horseshoe shaped, and there was no houses over there. There was no school in the back. There was no houses over there. There are very few houses in the back with 8th Avenue. So they went from the street over here, and all the way back was the property that they owned. And the rhubarb farm was actually where the museum is today. And the field across 8th Avenue also they owned. And they did rhubarb from there as well. Now in the back, there are trees, not nearly as many trees as there were back in the day. Now he had a nursery business. Dr. Small was a physician. He saw patients. He also loved horticulture. He grew things. He also loved shrubbery and nursery business. So he had a few things going on here. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit more in-depth of the property. I'm going to show you the back, and I'm going to show you a few things this way. One thing that I want to point out that I found in the records in the archives for this property was, you see the indentation here where the handicap parking is? Well, this used to be a road that went all the way to the back. Now remember, the museum wasn't there and the school wasn't there. Before the vehicle was, invented and they had one, he would walk out there with his grandchildren out to the trees back there, and he would teach his grandchildren about the different types of trees and things that grew on the trees. When they were able to buy a vehicle, they put in probably a dirt road, I would say, that went all the way around the back. And I believe I said before that in another video that this was their actual pump. This is a replica, but this is actually where the pump was for their water, and that was the back door that they used. They were very lucky to have a pump so close to the door. One thing that I would like to show for the outside of the home is the window right over there. The edge comes out a little bit from the rest of the house here. You have 3 windows at the bottom, and then you have that little side window. Well, that is part of the original home. So if you were to come, you could go on the outside and you can see the home is kind of like an eye going this direction, horizontal, and then the rest of the home built that way. And you can tell on the outside on both sides of the home. You could also tell on the windows on the bottom match the bottom on the other side of the house. The windows at the top match the top on the other side of the house, but they don't match top to bottom. Kind of interesting things that I found of the house through the time that I've been here, observing different things. One thing that I think was very important that I wanted to share with you is the porch of the home, but this in particular was the cellar. Now, with the addition, we have a basement and we have stairs, but this was the original cellar, and this is where Dr. Small grew rhubarb in complete darkness in the wintertime, and he was able to have crop all year round for customers. So this was the entrance. The lock's here and it opens that way. And there used to be a greenhouse here in this location, and probably the garden we have today right there, that probably was still the garden back then. And then all of this out here was just a rhubarb field that they used for crops. I do believe I remember seeing they owned a house. Also, one of the daughters owned a house, which would have been somewhere on the other side where the Civic Center is, or the parking lot is over there. And I do have information pertaining to the church, that Methodist church down here, where they purchased some of the land from the Smalls. So I do have very interesting things in our archival collection that you're welcome to look at. I pointed out on the other side of the house part of what was the original home, 2 floors on the bottom and 2 floors on the top. Now it was obvious on the other side with the little window, and it came out just a little bit from the rest of the home. But on this side, as you can see, it's not that obvious, but you can see on the roof line the difference. And where the door is right there, that we think was added either later or might have been part of it. We're still not sure, but we know that this door was here, possibly to maybe the original door, or maybe just to let the patients in, because there used to be a sidewalk right here for patients or for the people who lived here. And then these sidewalks came much later when the Kankakee County Museum got its campus, and then eventually to open to the public, they put in sidewalks and they put in the Civic Center. So these came later, and over here you'll see in many of the trees a humongous tree. I believe it was an oak tree that was taken down like in the 1950s or so. And in some of the pictures that we'll be showing you are the front and the side when the house was a little bit disrepair. Now from the second video, I talked a little bit about the house once the last descendant, Suzanne, lived here, and then it went to her brother Len, and then he died a few years later, and that wasn't until 1948 that the descendants decided to give the home and all the property, the whole farm, to the Park District. Now between that period, the property went in a little bit of disrepair, and some of the photos show that. I wanted to make sure that I show you different photographs of the property back in the day when the family lived here. So we will be showing a different series of the actual photograph and then what it looks like today. But something I do want to point out to you, the tree that's right here, you will not find in most of the photographs. That wasn't planted until about 1948, 49. Some of the trees came much later, but that one in particular I tried to find for a long time and finally did. right, the last thing two things I would like to talk about on the property are the two gardens. The column garden behind me was put in about 2010 or so, and it was done by the Kankakee Cultivators Club, and they had some artifacts that they found in storage. The second courthouse lawn had a fountain on it, and it was in storage for a long time, so that's in there. And then you see some columns, some of them in holes, some of them broken. That was from a bank in downtown Kankakee called the First Trust and Savings Bank. There was a school bell from Central School, which was a school down in Kankakee. Another a bell was from another school. It was a one-room school. Also, the Freedom Garden, which is over here, is a military garden as well. And then over there also used to be the barn, because back then, of course, farmers, everybody did their own meat. So they had a barn and they had their own horses as well. So to wrap up, the museum came late 1948, the Civic Center about 1949 or so, the schoolhouse 1976, the rhubarb barn quilt came about a decade ago, and then the little house there was a chicken coop, and that was part of the original property. And so he did everything multi-generational rhubarb farm right here in Kankakee, and they did nationwide. Please come and visit our campus. There is a lot to see. You can walk around, you can see inside as well. And please make sure you check out the other 2 episodes of Where Are We Wednesday for the first floor of the Dr. Small home and the second floor of the Dr. Small home. And then this one wraps up my presentation of the home. As always, if you have any questions, please contact me. Don't hesitate. I will be able to answer whatever questions that you might have on this particular topic or on another topic. Thank you for joining me on Where Are We Wednesday. See you next time.